If you haven't played Minions in 0.2.1, they're actually really good, right? In the beginning of Dawn of the Hunt 0.2, Minions were actually really terrible. It was really rough, but with all the changes that they made through 0.2.1, Minions are actually really strong in the campaign. What you're watching is the initial guide I was going to make. I was going to make it on Frost Mages because they were OD. These guys were OD. Once you got Spell Echo and just stacked Frost Mages, they handled the campaign and they steamrolled it. But I can see now exactly why they remade the skill. They remade the skill to do Ice Armor with the AoE explosion from the Brute. So now, instead, what I'm planning to do is I'm going to make a guide more about basic tips on your leveling through the campaign with Minions, the gear that you should get, how the passive tree works, changing your ascendancies, and for my general basic build, I'm going to switch towards the more traditional Scattershot Gas Arrow with Firewall. So that's what we're going to do. So if you look at Gas Arrow now for the Skeletal Sniper, it's been buffed, right? It's got a 6-second cooldown, previously 8 seconds. So it's got a 25% reduction in cooldown, and it also does 10% more attack damage for the gas. So basically what that means is before you needed to have at least 4 to 5 of them to have infinite gas arrows. Now it's going to probably be something more like 3. 3 and you can get away with 2. So right now you're watching the Rust King, right? This is like the first boss. You have 2 skeletal snipers and you see how much damage like one scattershot gas arrow does. I'm missing one key component in this, which is not using Last Gasp, which I'll get to because Last Gasp is really important for leveling in 0.2 and 0.1 and going to be in 0.3. But if you see this damage, right, it's really good. It's pretty good. It's really just chunks, you know, really easy. You don't have to worry about too many things. And you could use this also with your Essence Drain and your Contagion and your Unearth. So it's really good for leveling and going through parts of the campaign in the early game into mid. So these are the following skills that you're going to use when you immediately start playing, right? The first level, you're going to get Contagion right away. You're not going to take Skeletal Sniper until level 2 skill gem. Reason being is because you don't have any support gems, you don't have Last Gas, you don't have Scatter Shot, so you're just going to take good old Contagion. Then your next skill you're going to get is Skeletal Sniper, followed by Flame Wall. And then for your support gems for Skeletal Sniper, it's gonna be Scatter Shot right away first. Because when you detonate that Scatter Shot with Firewall, it does a 3 arrows worth of explosion and it shotguns. So it's a huge chunk of damage. And then your next support gem right after that is going to be Last Gasp. And we'll go into Last Gasp. And then after that, you can take Essence Drain. Essence Drain is good when, you know, your minions are dead. You don't have any damage to go out. So you're throwing out Contagions and Essence Drains and Firewalls. Once your minions are back up, it's back to spamming Gas Arrows for that huge chunk of damage. And then for the Spirit Gem, when you get it, it's going to be Raging Spirits, right? Raging Spirits, even though they fall off at the end game, they're really bad end game. They need a lot of help, and you only summon 2 now. They destroy in campaign. They really do a lot of work. When your skeletons are finally down, and maybe you're on like a cooldown for them to revive, you just spam Firewalls. You spam Firewalls, and they just go to work. Once you have a few of them up, they just start to do tons of damage. That along with Essence Drain. And then, you know, once your Skeletal Snipers are back up, you'll just start spawning Gas Arrows again, exploding them with Firewalls. They'll shoot through the Firewall, they'll do tons of damage. It's a good time. The only reason I swapped the Frost Mages was because of the complete control that you had and the immediate damage. But yeah, this will be the set that you'll start, and then you'll kind of move through the entirety of endgame and stuff like that. The thing is, we don't know too much about the game yet, so I'm going to be experiencing it myself, going to be exploring, trying out new things. So I can't wait, right? Because we can stack in multiple support gems for different things, I'm planning to maybe run an Arsonist and see how that is if I have an Arsonist to help me detonate the Gas Arrows, along with Unearth, right? Unearth is there for you to summon minions. Those minions you can detonate with the Arsonist, so that's extra stuff that you can do. But yeah, this is my set for getting items, or getting skills, rather. I want to talk about the importance of the Last Gas support. It is crucial. They made it really crucial in 0.2.1, and I think people just kind of totally slept on it because for the most part, everyone puts Last Gasp on their Cleric. Then that's not what you want to do. You want to put it on your main source of DPS. And my passive tree right now, this is Act 2. The only source of minion reservation that I have is in that wheel for 25%. I mean, minion reservation, sorry. Minion revive timer is only 25%. That's all I've got. And we're fighting Jump on Raw. This is with my Frost Mages, right, from the initial guide. And if we zoom forward, you see there's these Frost Mages right here, and you have this guy down right here. And you'll see his swipe. He'll immediately kill 3 of them. There's 1, 2, and there's 3 that's dead. And here's the timer, 5 seconds. Well, you can't see the timer. Oh yeah, you can, right here, 5 seconds. And then last gasp, last 4 seconds. You'll see them, they go, right? Timer's counting down, 3, 2, and right now I'm still using my active abilities as much as I can. There you go. Last gasp goes down, they're dead. Immediately, these guys respawn. They immediately respawn because of the last gasp. And right when they respawn, because they respawned from revival, an actual revival, their cooldown, their ability is up. It's not on cooldown. So you could immediately start spamming active abilities again, right? So if you have enough minions in your arsenal that you have infinite casts, right? Like say you have 4 frost mages and I'm casting frost bombs. Or in 0.3's case, if you have 4 skeletal snipers, which should be enough with a 6-second cooldown to just rapidly cast a scattershot gas arrow, you'll basically always have gas arrows up, right? Even if they're dead, because they're only dead for like a second, and in that time that they're dead, that's your chance to just spam, you know, firewalls, get your raging spirits out, or use your essence drain and contagion, and then throw in your unearth in there, in between the skeletal dead bodies. So if you're using even an unearth build or some essence drain contagion build, you can really add in some skeletal snipers with some scattershot gas arrow and some way to detonate. Like you can literally use an essence drain contagion build, right? And then let's say you don't want to have firewall, you could slap an arsonist in there and you can just use the scattershot gas arrow as a nuke to help assist with single target damage for your essence drain contagion build, is what I'm kind of getting at. So you need to have last gasp. It is 100% crucial. Without last gasp, it's easy to see if I play through this fight. There'll be points where the frost mages spawn and they'll immediately get one-shotted, but because of last gasp is on, they'll at least be up for me to keep constantly spamming my active abilities. And then when they're down, I'll cast firewall, I'll cast whatever for like 1 second, and then it's back to spamming active abilities. So it's really key. I can't really stress enough about last gasp and the fact that we can rock multiple supports, so you can put it on all the important minions to keep them alive, to keep you doing DPS. So it is really good. The next things we're going to go into is we're going to talk about like gold and stuff like that, and that kind of thing. Yeah, I appreciate the follow, Scooty. Okay, so let's talk about gear. What I have here is a mobalytics guide. When I did my Frost Mage playthrough, I snapshotted each point except the last boss. Except the first boss. I did the second boss, the third boss, Act 1, Cruel 2, and 3. So I snapshotted all the gear I used for each set. The only problem is this is for Frost Mages. So we're going to have to redo this. I'm going to have to play through the game on launch and re-upload this. I'll probably do it on max roll though, because I didn't know that you could do this also on max roll. That's where all my other stuff is. Essentially what I want to talk about is the gear, right? In 0.2.1, they did a lot of buffs to minions. There's so much damage off the passive tree that you can just get away with damage from the passive tree. Like if you look at my gear, all I have is spirit on the chest, a +1 minion over here, and some spirit. Now the priorities that you want, right, for your leveling gear, I'll put this in here, like somewhere around in here, is obviously plus level of minions and spirit. Now what takes priority? It depends on what's going to give you more minions. Because when it comes to leveling through the campaign, more minions is more active abilities, which is more damage. So if there's a scepter that has more spirit, that'll give you 1 more minion. That's better than having a +1 minion, +1 minion scepter with no spirit, giving you less minions. Especially when you only have 2, right? So 2 of them means double the damage of DPS for your minion and 2 active abilities. Once you start hitting like 4 or 5, then you kind of balance that out. But that's for plus minion and spirit. The next thing you're going to want is movement speed. So always check, your boots. You always want some movement speed. It helps a lot. Movement speed does help a lot. I don't know how sprint is going to be. Sprint is going to be a game changer. We're going to have to see how that goes. I'm kind of excited about that. Then the next thing you're going to flow through is energy shield and defenses. Now we don't know. I heard that there's going to be nerfs to energy shield. I don't know if that's the case. Hopefully not too many nerfs, but you want energy shield on your gear. And then resistances. Ideally, you want your resistances to just be positive when you get to maps. The higher you can get it, the better. But basically, everyone's mostly playing SSF. When I made this character and I did this playthrough, it was basically SSF. So if you look at my gear, like, I really just have like +1 level of minion on the helmet, +1 over here, and then spirit on places. I got really unlucky getting +1 minion level on my stuff, but I didn't need it. I crushed through the entire campaign, but that was also with Frost Mages, so we'll see. I can really see it with the gas arrow with the last gas support being really good too for bossing. There's just the weakness of gas arrow happens when you're fighting fast mobs and they don't allow you that DPS to explode. So you're gonna have to rely on things like Essence Rain, Contagion, and Raging Spirits, which is more than enough. Some little tips for gear, right? Is every level, if you don't know, merchants refresh their inventory. So check the merchant every level, right? Always upgrade your potions. And the other thing for some cheap spirit that's guaranteed is you gamble for a solar amulet. Gambling for a solar amulet will give you between 10 and 15 spirit guaranteed. All you got to do is gamble, get the right one, right amulet base, and then it comes with an implicit of 10 to 15. So it's right there. Right, so this is the gear I had at the end of Act 2 when I killed, I forgot his name, the Act 2 boss that we just saw, that we just watched. Right, really poor gear. I don't even have a ring in here. So, right, I didn't even bother with the charm. And I did this explicitly just so you could see how easy it is. It's unfortunate that I didn't make one for a gas arrow because I made this all for frost mages. And then eventually I have a volatile wand. I swap it out by Act 3. I start using a focus, right? Start getting more energy shield, upping up my energy shield, getting as much resistance as I can. Finally got a second ring. And then upgraded a solar amulet and I got lucky. I had a fifth, I think it was 12 spirit solar amulet. I gambled another one. I rolled a 15 spirit, and then I slammed the regal orb on it, and I got even more spirit. So I got lucky in the spirit department, which is good because it allowed me to have more minions, more active abilities. And then this is my gear for Cruel, but remember this is for frost mages. All right, I'll have this linked in here so you can take a look at it. I'll write more stuff in here about the priorities of gear. But you can kind of just take a look. This is the gear that I had throughout the game. I would take this with a grain of salt because, right, we're not using frost mages anymore. And then when Real Act 3 comes out, I'll update it. I'll have another one. So here are the support gems too. They're in here. This video is going to be longer than 20 minutes. No, it's not. So here are the support gems too. You can take a look at these at each point. Once again, it starts to become like frost mages. But you can see it's like really bare bones because minions are actually really good. They're really good if you know how to use them. Now, the last thing is the passive tree. So how I have the passive tree set up here is also snapshotted through certain acts at the end. But how it is, though, once I start to get into Act 2 Cruel, I start to get Frost Mage specific stuff. So like cast speed. Kind of ignore that. I'm just going to kind of talk about how the general idea of the passive tree and how it works, or how I like to use it. Right, so this is the end of Act 2. By the end of Act 2, I go straight for Lord of Horrors. But then the way it works is, right, I get these points initially as I go up. Big video, we'll see. It'll be under 20 minutes for sure, right? You get these passive nodes, and then instead of getting attributes, I only get attributes if I need it for requirements for skills or gear. If I don't need that, I start to get other things like energy shield over here. And then once I have enough points, I respec all of these, and I fill in to get this wheel. I get this wheel and get Restless Dead for 25% 25 faster percent minion revive 25% faster. There you go. Right, I did it. With these minion life, these are good, but I get these last. You don't really need to get these because last gasp is just really good. Right, and this is by Act 2. I get this wheel. Once I have this wheel, I start to travel off this way, get other things until I have enough points to get Lord of Horrors. So I'll get other things like Relentless Fallen. Maybe I'll get more energy shield if I need it. And then I count these points. Once I have enough points to get to minion damage, I respec all those points, and then I stick it into this path to get Lord of Horrors. That's kind of like what I try to do. So if you look at these, like by Act 3, I have Relentless Fallen. I'm passing this way. You can kind of see me also starting to get extra energy shield. There's other spots where you can get energy shield as well. Right, like over here, if you're waiting for points to get into this little node, you can get energy shield right here. 2, 3, and it's quite a bit. You can get energy shield right here. You can come down, get energy shield here. Then once you have enough points to get all this 25% increased damage, I'll respec, and start putting points into there. So you don't have to do that. That's just the way I do it. You know, if you want, if you don't have gold, you can kind of just copy this and get the usual minion nodes, minion damage nodes. That's one way to approach it. Now let's talk about the Ascendancy. So for the Ascendancy, what I recommend is for your first Ascendancy, take the dog. Go Infernalist and take the dog. You take the Infernalist first, right? Because you want to take the dog. The dog gives you 2 points right here for your first Ascendancy. And then when you get to the Act 2 for the Chaos Trial, if you want to go Lich, you can respec at the Trial Master. So this is me at the Trial Master. This is how much it costs to respec. 3,200 points. Gold, I mean. Right? Respec those, and then you can go into Lich. The reason I do this is if you're planning to go Lich, right? You unspec at him, and then you just respec over here at the Shrine. If you take 2 points straight into Unholy Might for Necromantic Conduit, it is a pain to play with that reduced mana recharge. Right? So here's me respecking. If you do this, if you take these 2 points and you have to deal with this without Soulless Form, it's so annoying. It's the worst. I 10 out of 10 do not recommend taking your first 2 points in Necromantic Conduit. I'd rather you respec and get 4 points on a second after repoint. Get Jesus Christ. Put in 4 points at the Ascendancy Trial of Chaos. Right? If you could take Soulless Form as well. The problem with Soulless Form is it does this, but it doesn't really give you any damage. So taking Soulless Form as your first Ascendancy is not as good. Taking the Lich, taking this. It's way better to just take the dog. Take the dog, you know, he'll blow up your gas for you. He'll do all that fun stuff. And then you can switch to the Lich later. The priorities of your passive tree for minions is always going to be damage. You always want to prioritize damage first just because, you know, you want to kill stuff as quick as you can. And the passive tree offers a lot of damage. It's going to offer you all the damage you need all the way up to mapping once you get out of campaign. And then you're going to do like reservation next, defenses for yourself, and then that kind of thing. But yeah, with a side note to that, I did talk about a lot of respecking. So another tip too is make sure you're picking up the items and you're selling them. Yeah. Heading out to eat something. Got you on follow. Good luck out there. I appreciate that, Scooty. But yeah, make sure you're picking up stuff and you're selling it, because I do quite a bit of respecking depending on, you know, what's happening or what I feel like I need. If I need more energy shield, if I need more, you know, maybe if I want to screw around with minion revive time, that kind of thing. And we don't know, the passive tree is not out yet, so there could be like big changes to the passive tree, or there could be no changes at all. So this guide will just kind of like give you an idea of what to expect up to like Act 2 until we really start to full on, you know, the build starts to flesh itself out with, you know, Ravenous Horde is still out there. There's a lot of like new abilities. Just alone, the fact that we have multiple support gems is pretty huge for minions. It's pretty huge. And if you haven't played, like I said, 0.2.1 minions, it's a lot easier than 0.2. I'll have this guide posted up once I'm done writing it out. I'll have it out there so you can look at it. You can reference it too if you want to look at it. I made it, remember, with SSF, with just, I try to just beat the campaign with the most dog shit gear that I could find. And it's pretty good. It's only +2 minions finally at, you know, Doriani. Spirit that I've got all from vendors, and just slamming gear with currency. So yeah, I'll catch you guys on 0.3. Have a good one. Peace out.